It was just another rainy Thursday in Portland when Maya started her shift at the little coffee shop on Hawthorne Avenue. She wrapped her barista apron around her waist, plastered on the practiced smile that barely masked her exhaustion, and tied her frizzy hair into a bun. The place smelled like espresso and damp wool, the kind of comforting scent that reminded her she was still standing, even if barely. Between college classes, 2 jobs, and trying to keep the electricity on at her apartment, Maya had learned to survive on caffeine and sheer will. The morning rush began as usual, polite nods, tired commuters, earbuds in, barely a thank you as drinks were handed over. Maya didn't mind, she wasn't there for the small talk. But then he walked in. The man was in his mid-50s, sharp suit, too much cologne, and the kind of arrogance that made your skin crawl before he even opened his mouth. Maya had seen him a few times before, always too loud, always too forward. Today, though, he wasn't in a rush. He leaned on the counter while she prepped his latte, eyes scanning her like she was a menu item he wasn't quite sure about. "You know," he said, voice low but cutting, "you'd be prettier if you smiled more. Bet you'd get bigger tips." Maya froze. She'd heard that before, too many times. From strangers, from classmates, from a professor once. She kept her eyes on the cup. "Smile for me, sweetheart. Don't be shy." There was a pause in the cafe, barely noticeable, like the moment before a storm hits. A few customers glanced up, then away, unwilling to be involved. Maya felt her cheeks burn, not just from anger, but from the helplessness, the knowing that speaking up would likely make it worse. "Do you talk to every woman like that?" she asked, voice even but tight. He smirked. "Only the ones worth talking to." Behind her, the espresso machine hissed, but it couldn't drown out the heavy silence that followed. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she handed him the cup. "Here you go, sir." He lingered. "Tell you what," he said, leaning in just a little too close, "if you ever want a real job, or a good time, you let me know." And then came the voice. "That's enough." It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The words cut through the air like a blade. The man turned, annoyed, to face the source, and hesitated. Behind him stood an older gentleman, tall and wiry with steel-gray hair, holding a worn paperback and a black coffee. He wasn't particularly imposing, but there was something in his eyes, calm, steady, unflinching. The suited man scoffed. "Excuse me." "You heard me," the older man said. "You don't talk to people like that. Especially not someone who's working her tail off to serve you coffee." Maya blinked. She recognized the man now, he was a regular. Always reading, always tipping well, always kind. The suited man looked around, waiting for someone to back him up. No one did. One woman shook her head. A guy near the window folded his arms. The room had shifted. "You really want to be that guy?" the older man added. "The one who makes a girl's day worse just because he can." A long beat. The suited man muttered something under his breath, grabbed his latte, and walked out, the door chimes sounding almost like applause. Maya stood still for a moment, unsure what to do with the adrenaline. Then the older man walked up and gently placed a $5 bill in the tip jar. "You okay?" he asked softly. She nodded, though her throat felt tight. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled. "My daughter used to work in a place like this. Told me stories. I promised myself, if I ever saw it happening, I wouldn't just stand there." That's when it hit her, the realization, quiet but profound. It wasn't just about her. It was about how many people didn't step in. About how common the silence was. And how rare, and powerful, it was when someone chose to break it. Later, during her break, Maya went to the back room and sat down. Her hands were still trembling a bit, but it wasn't fear now. It was release. Gratitude. Maybe even hope. When she returned to the counter, something had changed. The regulars looked at her differently. One man smiled kindly and asked how her day was going. Another customer said she appreciated Maya's patience with long orders. A small shift, but a real one. That evening, Maya called her mom. Told her about what happened. They cried together, not just because of the harassment, but because someone had chosen not to ignore it. Weeks later, the older man came back in. He didn't say anything about the incident, he just ordered his black coffee and smiled. Maya handed it to him with both hands. "I'm applying for a new job," she said. "Management position. Somewhere I won't need to wear a name tag." He grinned. "You'll be great at it." As he turned to leave, Maya called out, "Thank you again. For stepping in." He paused, turned back. "Kindness isn't a favor," he said. "It's a duty. We just forget that sometimes." Maya watched him walk out into the rain, book under his arm, and smiled, genuinely this time. Not because anyone asked her to. But because, for once, the world had reminded her it still had good people in it. And sometimes, all it takes is one voice saying, "That's enough," to change everything.